I'm Michelle.
And I'm Katherine.
And we're here at the Healthy Hurried Human podcast,
where we talk about keeping pace in a world that never slows down. Welcome back to Healthy Hurried Human. It's Katherine.
And Michelle.
And today we're going to revisit the wheel. We've decided to do a look once again on our Healthy Hurried Human wheel, our key functioning indicators, our KFIs, and the whole-minded approach that we have and why we use a wheel for that imagery and the spokes, kind of what they mean.
We just wanted to kind of refresh and give everybody an idea of what the wheel is, because we talk about it a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally the whole podcast is based on
this.
The wheel.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of fun recently bringing in guest speakers, and that has been so helpful and insightful in finding different articles out there that tie into the wheel that we're putting on our websites and LinkedIn. It's a very exciting time because for you and I who have done a deep dive, when we hear what's going on in society, I'm always saying, what about this? And I find myself bringing it up in conversation and talking about it. I had a conversation with maybe a future podcast guest about mission-minded, and he was talking about writing a new mission statement for the second part of his life and talking about purpose, having purpose-driven mentalities and value systems and the importance of that.
I love how you and I are always sending each other the articles or the quotes that we say. We're like, we were just talking about this, or this is what Jenna was talking about on the podcast.
That's right.
Or this is what when we were talking about mentoring, and that's what Steve was talking. We enjoy that, and it's at front of mind for us because this is the work that we do. Mm-hmm. But you and I felt very strongly that we needed to kind of give a refresher because it's not top of the mind for our listeners and for even the people that we work with who we're pouring this into them regularly. You and I operate within this wheel a lot. Yeah.
And I had a conversation just last night with a friend who said, I'm in the middle of what I'm feeling is burnout. And I feel the need to, she made a really interesting statement. And this is kind of ties in to why the wheel is important. Because she realized that she had risen to leadership in all of the organizations that she was in. And she had gotten involved and had been there so many years because of consistency that she was been a leader. And she was a leader socially. She was a leader in her friend group. She was a leader in at her work and in her volunteer group, and every place she needed a break. And I kept thinking, if she had our appraisal, this would be, she
would have clarity on where.
That's right.
Because I feel like a lot of times when people hit that place of burnout, when they just want to give up on everything, they want to quit everything, they're lacking clarity of where is actually the problem or where's the challenges, where do I need to focus first? I think we could see that in almost any area of our life. If we're physically not feeling good, we want to fix everything all at once. We want to, we think, I think this is why in January, the gym memberships are so incredible. So many people sign up because I want to fix everything. I want to get strength and I want to get stamina and I want to get consistency and working out. I'm going to drink 800 liters of water. They want to do everything all at once, and there's no clarity about, wait a minute, what's the most important, vital, essential thing for me to focus on? And I like to call it micro habit stacking. I'm pretty sure I didn't formulate that. Micro habit stacking, where you get, she's getting her pen out. She wants to
write this down.
Again, I don't think I am. I know I'm not. I think James Clear's the one who wrote the book Atomic Habits. He may have been the one who talked about micro habits. Maybe not. But it's that idea of snowballing micro habits. When I'm doing this one really well, then I feel like I can add another one in, and I'm more sustainable and I have more success because I've really built in this micro habit, and then I can add another. We don't get overwhelmed by it, because that's why by March, all those gym member people, the new ones aren't there. I think it's like 1%. There's a staggering statistic of.
So is micro habit stacking a good thing or a
Yes.
detrimental thing?
I think it's incredibly
small building, small steps. Okay.
because you get compounding on top of it. When I know for me recently, I've just come through a major medical thing of being sick, got salmonella poisoning and hospitalized by it. And I felt very sad about the fact that it took all the things I had been working so hard at, like my strength training and my exercise and my consistency and all of those things. But one of the things that I feel that was good that came from it is I literally had to become somebody who drank a lot because I had to replenish
Of water.
of what
Of water.
of water. Thank you for that.
Just to be clear.
Thank you for that clarification.
Not
Yes, a
soda
lot of water.
water, not
Water, and I have to add these drops to my water to replace. Anyways,
electrolytes.
yes, and some other stuff that you have to get. Anyways, all of a sudden I started to realize, because it's becoming my life source to drink this water in order to aid my recovery, the very long recovery. And it dawned on me a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, I have never been this good at drinking enough water on a regular basis. I mean, I am like every other woman. I carry my cup around, but it will take me all day to do the 1 cup. Whereas now I'm doing 3 of my big cups a day, and I can tell so we don't need to spend tons of time on my water habits, but it was a micro habit that now that I'm doing it and I'm being more aware of it, now I was able to add other stuff. There were so many things that I had to go back to start doing to get myself better in recovery, but it was overwhelming to me to try to get it all back. Because I lost a lot of strength. I lost a lot of stamina being that sick. And when you look at it and be like, how am I going to get it all back? Or look at what all I have to do that. Looking at the water and saying, look at where I am with the water now. And I was never doing that well with water. I'm like, okay, I can do my stamina, my exercise, my strength. There's something mental about doing the micro habits, changing small things, and then building on top of that.
Yeah,
I feel like that's what the wheel does, is it brings that clarity.
well, like talking about my friend.
This episode of the Healthy Hurried Human podcast is sponsored by Midlife Thrives. Midlife Thrives is for women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s navigating perimenopause and menopause. If you've felt the energy dips, the mood swings, or the brain fog that make you wonder if you're losing yourself, you're not alone. Midlife Thrives is here to help give you clarity, resources, and a supportive circle of women who get it. No quick fixes, no shame, just some real guidance for real life. Learn more and connect at midlifethrives.com, because thriving in midlife isn't optional, it's your new standard.
Where she's at a point where anything that's not essential, maybe she's stepping away from. And she's got other people that are helping her kind of figure out that type of thing. And I've been there where it was like, I just need to close down a lot of the volunteer work that I was doing. I was spread too thin. And that was before I started working with you with the wheel, because in the last year, 2 years?
2 years. You just had an anniversary. Yes.
Oh, woohoo. In the last 2 years of working
2
together.
years with Foxygen.
Yes. Sorry, clarity. We've known each other longer. But the last 2 years of working with the wheel, it's a different, before it became habitual to do this, like there was kind of a screeching halt, or life was clunky. I felt stuck. There was a buildup of tension and lack of clarity of how to move forward.
Sort of like driving on a flat tire.
Or when you get that grocery cart where the plastic wheel, one of them is broken, and you're like ka-kunk, ka-kunk, ka-kunk. So I remember one time, golly, I don't know how many months ago it was. I feel like it was in the spring of 2025. You looked at me and said, I really think that one of the wheel, the wheel. I was like, oh, right, I should look at the wheel. It was something I was really struggling with. It was the relationally thriving one, and I wasn't thriving relationally. And you had you had realized that about me just listening to me talk. And I was like, oh, you're right. And sometimes when you just take a step back, take a deep breath, and acknowledge this is where it is, that moves you to a place of integration and growth. When you acknowledge what the problem is, when you just see the problem, and this is true in therapy, this is true in the Enneagram, this is true across the board, recognizing there's a problem is the first step.
Well, two things. One, I love your story of the first time you worked the wheel when you went to the coffee shop or wherever you went. That was not long after you joined Foxygen. You went and worked the wheel. And I love I was like, oh, I love the way that you phrased that. You worked the wheel. And because to me, that's where it came from. That is, the wheel came from, in case you're wondering, the origin story behind the wheel is 20 years of doing work with people, mental health work as a therapist, thousands and thousands of different stories as you work with thousands of patients over that amount of time, but realizing there's really I can put all of these thousands of stories into about 8 different categories. And that's where the wheel came from, is if I can give clients or patients a way to see it and say, what I'm going through, where on this wheel, where's the puzzle piece? Where does it fit? Work the wheel. You coined that phrase, work the wheel.
Run the wheel.
If you can do it, then you have clarity. You take away shame, you take away overwhelm, and you get really focused. And that's why I love it and feel like this is a product. This is something that is really useful. We buy product all the time that makes our life easier and that becomes useful to us. And that's what the wheel,
right?
That's where it came from. And that's what it's for. It's to give people clarity.
We need that space in our life where we remove the emotion of the moment to give us steps that we can do. And this wheel is not judgmental, right? If you find yourself in a very deeply judgmental space, then that's a sign that you should probably sit down and do the appraisal, because it's not judgmental. Dr. Henry Cloud, and we've talked about this before, and his definition of accountability is to have your accountability partner helps remind you what the goal is, and then your why. And it's instead of so like companies that have really good value systems where they make their decisions based on their value systems. Does this align with what our value is? Does this align with what our mission is? If it's a yes, then we move forward. If it's a no, then we don't do it, or we rephrase it. And with the wheel, it is a reminder of who we are. Like, oh, maybe the reason why my friend is struggling is she has risen to leadership and filled a need because she could, but it's not her purpose driver. This is not where she shines in volunteer work. And so it's become stressful and taxing to her. And that's this wheel, when you do it for yourself, it isn't judgmental.
Well, I want to quote Grant, my assistant, who said it this way. And I was like, I like this. He said, it's not a checklist, but it's a rhythm that keeps people from fragmenting under pressure. I was like, that was really brilliant, Grant. It's not a checklist. And that's why we really played around with calling it the appraisal, because assessments, everybody is used to the assessments of, even the Enneagram and the DISC, and so many of those are an assessment tool, which are great and incredibly valuable. But we didn't want to send the message that when you're doing it, you're boxing yourself in. You're certainly, it's fluid. That's the thing I want people to understand, is this, where you are and what's not working well. It's fluid, because sometimes you're going to be doing really well in lots of areas, but that's not, what's his name, that wrote Love Languages. We had lunch with him. Gary Chapman, and I got to tell him the things I love and disagree, because I've used the book The 5 Love Languages huge in my career, and he feels like, well, whatever your love languages were 10 years ago, that's what they are today. And I'm like, I don't think so, Gary. Even though he's the one who created this, I'm like, I think people actually change based on just life and stuff. That's what I love about the wheel is that you're not just because you're struggling and overwhelmed, or maybe like you said with your friend with volunteering, isn't that doing it for you right now, doesn't mean that's how it's always going to be. Mm-hmm. It's an appraisal of where do you want to put focus and energy. I just keep going back to the home appraisal. When you get that home appraisal, when you buy a house, they give, if they're good, you're going to have a huge checklist because they're going to tell you everything. Some of those things on there, you're like, yeah, I can live with that. It's fine.
We don't need to fix it today.
We don't have to do it today. That's okay. And that's why I like the wheel. I want people to go into it with not a judgment and not this shame or not this pressure, but where am I sensing that, yeah, I'm feeling that. I want to put my attention there instead of feeling like I have to fix everything about my life.
Well, and we have not talked about this. You and I have not talked about this, but I'm an extrovert, so maybe it's just that I'm an extrovert. But what if you had a wheel buddy or a wheel partner or somebody like you do this for me when I was spinning out and you were like, hey, I really think that where you're struggling right now is relationally thriving. And because I'm an extrovert, I did not have enough people in my life and I needed more people. And there was this depletion of relationships. I wasn't getting to spend time with the people that I needed to just, and it really was having an effect. It was that broken plastic wheel on the grocery cart. And there were other aspects of the wheel that I also wasn't necessarily getting all gold stars, but this is the one that was really
sucking the life out of
you.
And
you could see that in me because you were listening to me and spending time with me and understood, hey, this is a focus for you, and you had identified that. So if we had a wheel partner, a buddy, a person in our life that was also using this tool that could help give us a reflection.
Love it. I love it.
We talk, I think we brought it up on the podcast early in our first season about how we mirror for each other and being in relationship with each other where we say something, you see the other person's facial expressions back and forth. And if we do not have that, that's an important aspect of human development, especially like all the studies they've done with infants about them learning by watching the facial expressions. And that's right. I had talked about the cookie challenge that was on TikTok with parents and their toddlers, and kids they will look to their parents to see how they react in this situation, how they respond. They're learning. And we do that as adults. We body language, how we present ourselves. If someone's closed off, sitting at a boardroom, I used to interview people, how people's physical stature was during an interview said a lot. So this wheel this alignment that you create for yourself, you should be able to trust it. It should be an honest reflection of where you want to go, how you operate the best as a person. It cannot be like, not to harp on the Enneagram, but I used that for 11 years at my previous job. That was the tool that we were using. And people will say, but I don't like the number that I am. I heard this the other day. Someone said, well, I think when I typed as an Enneagram in high school, I didn't like what I became. I wanted to be. I didn't like the number that I got. And it's like, okay, I really want to unpack that with you about why you don't like that, because a lot of times it'll be something you don't like about yourself that you think is bad or you think should be different.
That's
or
right.
It's not the person that you want to be. But there's an underlying issue, or maybe it's not your type, but sometimes we have this ideal of who we should be. And one of the important things that I think we should say about the wheel and the appraisals is that we are going to do a follow-up session to this one where we do a deeper dive about each one of the spokes and get more specific about each one of the spokes.
That's part 2, and it will literally be the next episode.
And it's really, so we want to expand that. And we are going to, how can people get the appraisal? If because we're talking about it and we're talking about the importance of doing this and this appraisal.
That's where we want people to reach out to us at foxygen.com, foxygenconsulting.com. You want to reach out to us, or you can email us at info@foxygenconsulting.com and work with us. We like to do it. We can do it individually. We can work with people and individuals, but we've really created this for teams and organizations in the work setting or in nonprofit setting, church settings. It's really good for teams, but anybody can do it, and we can get them the appraisal. I think it's really important before we close this episode out, Katherine, for us to talk about a phrase that you and I use often, because it's kind of the foundation, is the whole-minded. We use whole-minded person, whole-minded leader, but what do people, I had somebody ask me this week, what do you mean by whole-minded? And it's really, that's what the wheel is kind of the driving purpose behind it, is to make us a whole-minded person. That is somebody who's living and leading their life with an awareness of how they're doing in every direction that their life goes, everything that we touch, every role that we are. Am I using the self-awareness? Am I emotionally, mentally, relationally healthy in all of the different directions that we lead our life? That's the whole-minded, not just who are you at work, not just who are you at home. It's who are you as all of these people. That's the whole-minded. So I really wanted to make sure
So you're kind of talking about roles there. Like, it's who are you with all the roles in play?
Tired teams don't just need another training. They need transformation. The Healthy Hurried Human Lab helps organizations build emotionally fit, resilient, and connected teams that perform better without burning out. This interactive training goes beyond theory, combining organizational psychology with personal appraisal that helps every participant understand how their mental, emotional, and relational habits show up at work. When people grow, companies thrive. Book your Healthy Hurried Human Lab for your teams today at foxygenconsulting.com and start creating healthier, more human workplace. Yeah, are you living your life with the awareness in all of those areas?
Yeah, it is whole-minded. You'll hear the term whole person. There's a big emphasis. Forbes did an article January of 24, I think, or 25, about the top 5 ways that leaders are failing their companies. And the number one was they don't see their employees as whole people, whole person approach. And, of course I wigged out, because that's definitely the basis for Foxygen, is we want to help the C-suite connect to the workforce. And there is a major disconnect. I think Gallup did a poll that 21% of the workforce feels like there's like a 21% engagement. Right now, only 21% of your workforce is engaged right now. And the number one driver is that the workforce feels like the C-suite does not know who they are, or have compassion or empathy for what they're going through. And, we have never had a time in history where we can instantaneously know what's going on around the world. We have so much information and seemingly connectedness to info. And yet at the same time, it makes us just feel more lonely and more disconnected. So there's this loneliness crisis that everybody's going through right now, that everyone I talk to kind of feels that with relationships, or this level of unfulfillment, which we don't have time to go into about the dopamine receptors are being rewired in our brains, which is really kind of what I'm studying about these days, and how that's making us feel less satisfied with human connections and things. So these key functioning indicators on the wheel are not necessarily a fix-all for your corporation. They really are designed to make a healthier individual, and healthier individuals build a healthier culture. And we do have our Healthy Hurried Human lab.
We do.
We have a Healthy Hurried Human lab that we offer
Training.
for like a 1 day or half a day or training that we do for companies. But we will, if as an individual, for a person who's maybe not in a corporation, shout out my niece, College Palmer, yay, who likes to listen to the podcast. If she wants to do this and work through this, there are ways to reach out to us.
100%. Yeah.
Either, info@foxygenconsulting.com. We would love to work with you, help you get the appraisal system.
Hey, listen, if there's a leadership, or if you're a manager, you're in the C-suite, you're in a position where you have greater influence and you want to try this out for yourself first, 100% reach out to us. Email us. I'll give you my personal phone number. Because we know that when people sit down and do it, it's like somebody raised the curtains, the blinds, the light comes in and they see it. Because that's what I love about it, is it brings incredible clarity for people.
It really does alleviate a lot of, just for me personally, a lot of, it just takes it out of a cerebral head of I can't fix anything to, practical steps forward. Having the next step forward is really
100%.
life-giving for a lot of people out there, just to know you don't have to throw everything out. But anyway, I feel like I've exhausted the subject, made it very clear.
The wheel brings back balance, back to the modern way of living and leading. That was one of the things Grant wrote down.
One of these days you need to bring him in here and just let him be the sidekick.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, and be sure and tune in next time, where we're going to dive even deeper and give you the specifics on each spoke of our wheel.
Our KFIs. Thanks for joining us.
The Healthy Hurried Human podcast is brought to you by Foxygen Consulting and a handful of silent sponsors who believe in this work and quietly keep us going. We see you, we thank you, and we are glad that you're part of this journey.